If we look at Umar bin Khattab, we find that his example is better than pretty much anything we can look at as political leaders of that magnitude beyond the first 3 or 4 generations of this age. He did not instantly accept Islam upon hearing it. And he saw Islam as something that split the people. And he wanted to kill Muhammad. But he didn't. And his sister Fatima ended up convincing him. And after that, his vigor translated over to making a difference for Islam. To a degree, he always remained approachable by the common person. I don't know which order people accepted Islam beyond the first 6, but Umar was not one of them. Islam came to a people who had honor and family relations that may have set their own morals in a personal level, but the society didn't really have that in our modern way of thinking, or even in your typical tribal way of thinking. Umar worked with animals, and he traded, but he was angry when he heard of Prophet Muhammad, because Prophet Muhammad was different. Not just different in theology. Oh, he's not personifying deity or thinks that deity's one. It was more than that. The ethics. And, Umar, of course, thought that he was criticizing Arab ways. People kept getting converted, and, tradition alone wasn't enough justification for those who converted. Umar, before he was to kill Prophet Muhammad, would have to deal with his own house first. And, he had a sister and her husband who converted. And he ended up overhearing them, and to handle that of Quran, which they had written, they said, you have to take a bath. And he's like, okay. And then when he did, he went over and converted, because he had heard of these. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. It came time to migrate, and Umar was one of those who announced the migration. To Medina, Umar became a close companion of Prophet Muhammad, and he, stayed near him in the battles. Now, not all the Ghazawat were battles, but he definitely was with the Prophet on expeditions. As the second Caliph, he was such for 10.5 years. And he remained somebody that people could approach. He was very strict, and we find elsewhere that, for example, somebody had a question, and that question about religion, people couldn't find the answer. But after Umar died, that person got the answer, but the response wasn't quite right. But he was generally very helpful to the people and the spreading of the faith, although wars of mere conversion, mere acquiring resources, land, that sort of stuff is not allowed in Islam. There was a lot of spread of empire during that time. And, this included into Iraq, Iran, what we now call Palestine, but was called Palestine before that, right? Because following the Bar Kokhba rebellion, the Romans renamed it to that mythical name of Palestine as an insult to those that they, were trying to stop them from doing a genocide. Because the Bar Kokhba rebellion, they tried to not allow anybody through that area and started killing everybody who hadn't left that wasn't of their group. And I don't just mean the political group. He's famous for his letter to the River Nile, and such things can be done to, make a point and spread the message. He was cautious about things that weren't done in the Prophet's life, that he didn't know the explicit examples of what to do. The people of other faiths, typically people hear of, the new people through, there's going to be a forced change and all that stuff. So some communities felt wary, but Islam did not, under Umar, didn't persecute any. Well, I mean, Islam itself doesn't ever do anything like that, but, people who are Muslim may do something, or, he didn't allow the persecution of any faith or religious place or something like that. So the Zoroastrians and the Christians and the Jews and all that, continued. For them, unexpectedly. Because even another faction of their own group. And that's part of the reason why they had to go through certain areas, is that certain religious communities were being persecuted. Some people will say Umar innovated the practice of leading the prayers, or giving the prayer call, a profession, a business. And the ideal in Islam is that in itself are things that people do for free. And I mean, I understand the person in charge of a school or something like that, or, some sort of administrative individual, but yeah. But remember, Islam is about what is revealed and what is inspired. The opinions of individuals after the Prophet are ones that you can differ with, but don't differ just because this person or that person or their position. It's how it compares to what, has been sent through Prophet Muhammad. And for other nations, it was through others. Status in society shouldn't dictate judgment. It should be based on the facts, regardless of one's status. That was something maintained during his rule. There was development in terms of agriculture, places of worship, schools and stuff. Abu Luwa killed him as he led dawn prayer. He also led pilgrimage at another time. Umar did, because Umar said to Abu Luwa that his skills and other means justified the level of tax that he was asked to pay. Now, in a modern sense, the tax would have been much higher, and that's something to consider too, whether talking about the dhimmi or the Muslimin.